All right, welcome everybody to our Librarians of the Citadel discussion of episode 7.6 of Game of Thrones. This is what we had said last week. It was going to be called Death is the Enemy, but HBO actually has officially named it Beyond the Wall. I actually think Death is the Enemy is actually a much better title, but I don't work for HBO. We have nothing to plug this week. No upcoming Game of Thrones event because our final Game of Thrones event was on Saturday. It was the feast, and thank you to everybody who came. We had an excellent time. Your costumes looked amazing. The recipes were great. We had probably about 60 people. It was wonderful. So thank you everybody who participated. All right, let's just jump right into it, and I guess we should probably get started with the Fellowship of the Seven journey. I felt like this had very Fellowship of the Ring feel.
I actually at one point thought again, I was like, and I'm obsessed with Lord of the Rings fan. I was like, that's Lord of the Rings music right there.
I thought even the imagery of the group of them journeying, and then especially the scene where they capture the white and he does the siren. And I was like, this is just like that scene in the cave where where the bones fall down the well and all of a sudden the orcs are all swarming. It was very Fellowship of the Rings. Yeah. So there was a lot of great dialogue during these.
Oh yeah,
these
banter.
Yes, the banter was a torment, of course, with his one-liners. Doesn't disappoint.
I'm just the drunkest. I'm just the drunkest.
Yeah,
talking about girls.
Yeah, talking about Brienne, which was great. I want to have babies with her.
I hope he does.
There'll be giant monsters who will conquer the world.
So great.
It was great. I also thought the parts about Gendry being so emo about being captured by Melisandre.
He was whining a lot.
He was whining a lot.
It's like these men have been through worse.
Yeah.
Like everybody.
Hide me, Dad. So pretty good.
Put leashes on.
That took a turn, yeah. But it was like everybody he'd been traveling with had been through so much worse, and he was just like, "You sold me to a beautiful woman who tied me down naked." Yeah, sorry about that, Gendry.
He's actually probably better off because something worse would have happened to him if he wasn't sold but for keeping, you know.
Right. He would have been, he was already kind of a wanted man. Cersei was looking for him, so he could have ended up much worse off than what he did.
He was sort of obsessed with it. He was complaining about that last week too. So
yeah.
So maybe he's over it now.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully he'll gain some perspective.
He may be a little more
he
focused.
probably did.
Yeah.
I was a little scared there.
I think coming face to face with the White Walkers and the Whites kind of puts everything into perspective for everyone, right?
Still everything.
But we had a great scene with Jon and Jorah, where Jon tries to give Jorah the sword.
Yeah.
And very interesting. I felt like there was a lot of, jumping around a little bit, but there was a lot of mention of future generations in this episode. Dany had that scene with Tyrion where he was like, "What? You can't have children, so who's your successor?" And then she said it again to Jon at the end. And then when Jorah's handing Jon the sword back, he says, "It'll serve you well and your children." And I was like, this is kind of interesting because theoretically Jon can't have children, right? Because he was dead.
I don't know.
They never touched upon that. I mean,
everything else is working.
But we've been told that Dany won't have children, but how reliable do we think Mary Mazdor is? Although she has had a lot of relations with Dario Naharis and nothing's come of that, but you never know, maybe something's wrong with Dario.
Maybe the Targaryens do need the Targaryen DNA.
Maybe it's just like how it works.
Couple with her nephew.
So for all
I'm not in favor for now.
Isn't that crazy? At the beginning of this season, I was like, Jon and Dany can't possibly have any chemistry. There's no way this is going to work on screen. And then after last night, I'm like, oh my God, get married now.
I was crying during that scene. It's so funny because everything that I thought before this, I came into this scene a little bit sinister, and I was like, I love the Lannisters. No, they can't win.
It was a huge episode, I think, because of there was a lot of paradigm shifts, there was a lot of perspective shifts, there was
Arya's like, I want her to die now.
Yeah, Arya's crazy.
Let's just get rid of her.
Okay, so
She's overboard on
no,
that.
Yeah.
it's really bad, and I don't know if it's just the writing is bad or if Arya is insane.
She's insane. The
And-
writing's not bad. She's overboard.
Well, we
she's-
have known that she's a psychopath. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
But I said to Kate this morning that one of the things with Arya's scenes this week, they reminded me of the emotional equivalent of the travel we're supposed to suspend disbelief for a little. Like they're getting pictures really rapidly, and I felt that about those scenes because at first I was like, why is this bothering me? She's done horrible things, and it's just like, go Arya, and part of it just seems too abrupt.
She's not giving Sansa a single chance.
Yeah,
No.
and
From the
and
get-go,
it's-
she would not
yeah.
listen to her.
And
She's
it's-
still in the past. You know,
so much
Sansa is
residual
so much
jealousy.
older.
Yeah.
And she's not giving her a chance to prove that.
Right, and for Sansa to say, listen, the Lannisters made me do it. She's like, and you were stupid enough to believe that.
Well,
She was
But
right.
then
She-
Sansa called her out too, and she had no argument to defend herself.
No, really,
She does, at least in a betrayal.
I would think if anything, Arya was there. Arya saw that Sansa was hysterically being restrained. I mean,
She
it was-
passed out too.
She literally fainted. Yeah.
It was pretty clear that
She was distraught, and the poor girl. But she's like, even she was young, and Sansa did take a while to grow up. But when she did, she really, really did. So
Yeah.
I mean, she for our numbers, yeah, her sister was like a little brat back then, but still, she was still young. And yeah, when the Lannisters like, this is your only chance for your father to live. You're gonna take that. Her intentions were to save her father. Her intentions were never to betray her father. And Arya doesn't see that.
Right.
And she was being held prisoner at the time. She was being held prisoner in a castle tower. Everybody had been killed.
Robb and Catelyn knew instantly. No one
Oh.
else ever looked at that letter and thought, oh, this is what Sansa feels.
And they didn't
Yeah.
think Sansa's betraying.
No, they looked at the
knew.
letter and said, "Oh, the Lannisters have her, and look what they're doing to her."
Absolutely, yeah, and the letter caused no harm to her family whatsoever. Like, it's not like Robb went to King's Landing and bent the knee and was taken. That didn't happen. You know, nothing. The letter had no residual
I think
effects.
the other thing was that it was a message. Cersei knew that. So Cersei was sending a message to Caitlyn.
Without
I'm
having
going
to.
to kill Sansa. I mean, that
Basically,
was
yeah.
So there was a lot going on, that,
Oh, yeah.
and for Arya to just be like,
Maybe Arya's got another motive. Maybe there's something else.
I think Arya. So we had at the beginning of the season all these. Well, let's not forget the very first scene of the entire season was her wiping out an entire family.
Right.
But then after that, we had all these scenes where Arya seemed to be connecting to her humanity. She was meeting up with the Lannister soldiers. She found Nymeria. She talked with Hot Pie. It was her coming back to her humanity. And going home, having that really touching reunion with her sister where they were hugging, and now all of a sudden it's like she's 180 and she's flipped. And is it because now Sansa is a name on her list? Because it doesn't make sense to me now, the idea that Arya is playing a game with Littlefinger. That doesn't make sense to me after this episode.
Yeah.
I think if anything, Sansa might be trying to play defense on all sides. I think Sansa might know that Littlefinger's up to something, and maybe that's why she sent Brienne away.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, to protect Arya. I think Sansa knows something is going on, but I don't think that Arya is that level of game player. I just don't think she's a schemer. I think she's taking everything at face value. I think she's just not skilled in this kind of
Right, and she's
deception.
being a fool about it too, because now, like, her list, or if she actually is going after Sansa, is actually going to hurt her family. Like, she's not thinking things through. Like, this is something you can look past. Sansa didn't betray the family. Sansa didn't kill anybody they loved. You know, she doesn't deserve to die. But if you're going to go and make things public, then you're actually now hurting the family. You're making things worse for people. And it's not like you're getting personal justice for someone who did something so horrific. Sansa didn't do anything
Yeah, that's why I think it's too
Yeah.
early to judge. I think we have to see how that plays
I just
out.
want her to go away.
I know.
God, every time they're together, I had to pause it. Like,
I found some of the other episodes, the scenes with Arya have been my favorites.
Yeah.
And this time, every time they cut to Winterfell, I was like, oh, I don't want to. And then they got creepier and
I
creepier.
know.
Yeah, that last scene of her when Sansa, first of all, why do you hide your bag of faces underneath your bed? Like, you have a literal bag of human body parts just stashed under your bed. Like, there's no better hiding place than that.
Why
When
does that
Sansa's
bag of
pulling-
faces?
Yeah, like when Sansa's pulling them out and realizing what she's looking at, and then Arya comes in, so creepy.
Yeah.
And she's just, she's really terrifying. And she's a monster.
Arya and Bronn, they're both, where's John?
Yeah, John, come home. Deal with your siblings.
Do you think there was some reason that she handed Sansa the dagger, though? I was thinking about that, because that could also be, I know, like, you were just thinking we can't judge too quickly into it now. What if she does have this ulterior motive?
Well, and here's the thing. So, Arya has been trained kind of to spot a lie. So you think that in any conversation she may have with Littlefinger, which we haven't really seen her have any conversations with Littlefinger, you would think that those sensors would be going off.
Yeah.
Because he's nothing but lies. But there was a sense of menacing. I think Arya wants Sansa to be scared, because the only thing with that scene was there was no audience. They were in a room by themselves. The door was closed. So unless Arya suspected that somebody was listening at the walls or at the door, who was that performance for? The only audience was Sansa. Right. So my theory is maybe she just wants Sansa to be scared, and Arya isn't sure yet what she's going to do with this knowledge.
Or maybe Arya thought, I actually could kill her right now, but didn't detect any lies coming from her. And then that was her going like, I can't kill her because I didn't get that lie from her. I didn't get the sense of it. Because even when she asked the question, do you want something other than John? And Sansa didn't reply with an answer to that, but I think she would have been able to catch in her face when she heard the question. If there was I want someone other than John to be king, almost a little, she could have seen it in her face. So maybe she didn't get what she needed from that moment in order to justify hurting her sister.
But I do think Arya hasn't grown emotionally. That's really clear. I mean, and it's interesting because Sansa and Jon were never close. Sansa was more of Team Caitlyn. That's my bastard brother, and of course Jon was a big fan of Arya. He gave her a needle and everything. So I think that it's. And then Sansa and Jon, there's no question, that they have come together, and even though she tells him, when she doesn't think he's doing the right thing, there's no question of.
But there's respect in that.
They're definitely a united front.
And he understands what she suffered, and he's, but Arya is just and it's also I'm the only one. I saw him beheaded, and I know
Arya
you don't know how much
selfish,
suffered,
too.
and so.
Well, she's got a lot of PTSD stuff that she's dealing with too. But my feeling is that she's worried because she knows the old Sansa. She's worried that Sansa will plan to betray Jon, and I think she thinks that keeping Sansa afraid will mean that she will control Sansa's loyalty to Jon. I think she wants Sansa to be afraid so that Sansa doesn't make any power play. And I think as soon as Littlefinger does something that makes it seem like Sansa's making a power play, Arya will strike. I think that, she doesn't want to act against her sister, because I think that she knows that would be a difficult, there's the kinslayer, right? It's a very taboo. If you kill a member of your own family, it's a very taboo thing in Westeros. So maybe that's a line that Arya doesn't want to cross, or maybe she's afraid of how would I explain this to Jon? Jon would never see that I did this to protect him. So I think Arya is trying to keep Sansa in line as she sees it. And I'm hoping that, we have an 81-minute episode for the finale, and I hope somewhere in those 81 minutes Arya realizes, I've been an idiot for the past 2 episodes.
She's either going to get herself killed somehow, or she's going to kill Sansa.
I'm really nervous for Sansa. I think if there's anybody who I'm worried about the most in the finale dying, it's Sansa.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm really.
I love Sansa.
I know. I'm very upset because her journey has been one of the most rewarding in terms of just.
And gosh, that actress, she's so beautiful, she's so pretty. She at first I was when she was young, but now she's this beautiful woman, and just who's this person that I wanted to say. I don't know every time. And then I'm looking at her sister, and I'm you're uglier to me by the day. It's terrible.
Just because it's projecting her personality.
I know.
Yeah, but even they did a lot of, and we'll talk about baby pictures later on. But they did in the previously on Game of Thrones where they had the flashback to season
Yeah,
1 of Sansa writing the letter, I was like, oh my god, Sansa was so young.
Yeah.
She really
How long
was.
have they been filming this so far? I mean, how
And
many
we're on
years?
our 6th season, so it's been about 6
Seven.
years.
No, it's
7 years.
Season
Oh yeah, 7th season. So yeah, it's been
And-
so it's
yeah.
been. So Sophie Turner was probably like
Well, they're
13.
probably still
Yeah.
obviously
I
before it
think she
came
was
out.
12.
Yeah, so she was a baby in the first season. So yeah. So yeah, I'm not enjoying this Arya Sansa tension
No.
at all. Not enjoying these scenes at Winterfell at all. Really hoping something horrible happens to Littlefinger next episode.
So
Yeah,
Littlefinger is behind.
They're the lady before time now.
but
Is
yeah.
behind getting Brianna gone.
No, I think he
No.
wanted Brienne to stay.
Yeah.
He wanted
Yeah.
Sansa to use Brienne to take out Arya.
Brienne.
Yeah.
And Sansa immediately sent Brienne away, which leads me to believe Sansa knows that Littlefinger's up to something.
Right, which is probably why she sought counsel from Littlefinger
Yes.
to see, like, what would he say I do? I gotta do the exact opposite.
I think so, because otherwise that scene with her going right to Littlefinger makes no sense.
Because she
Right,
doesn't
yeah.
because she knows
how
not to trust him.
Yeah, and how did Arya find this note? It's gotta come from Littlefinger, so now I have to go to Littlefinger, see what he wants, and he's immediately saying, like, you need protection from your sister. Like, why would that be his immediate reaction
Right.
when you know, unless he's scheming?
He
And
just
then-
needs to die.
Yeah, he just needs to die. And let's not forget that
He's the
Sansa.
one that needs to
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to
Yeah.
die. Sansa knows that he was present when she wrote the letter, so he would know exactly what was in it. He probably had a hand in helping her compose it. You know what Cersei, because that you saw right on the previously on, he was standing over Cersei's shoulder as Sansa was writing.
And it wasn't like Arya knew about the note beforehand, because Sansa could think like, oh, she's had it for a long time. No, because when she first got there and they were hugging, she would have done something. She would have behaved to her differently.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not been like most warm, loving, but it would not have been this psycho level stuff yet. So I think she knows she got it here, she got it recently, and who else would have it but Littlefinger?
So, but one of the bigger holes for me, and this is one of those episodes where if you start pulling at threads, the whole thing's going to fall apart because there was so much stuff that didn't make sense. But one of the bigger holes for me in this Arya Sansa conflict is, where's Bran? The guy who totally knows everything. And I know he's kind of unattached from his family, but he can't be like, hey, let's call a meeting. By the way, Littlefinger's playing you. Littlefinger did this, Littlefinger did that. Like, I can see scenes from the past where these things happened, and you know, like, how come he's not like involved in this conflict at all?
Maybe his visions are like short-term past. Maybe they go back longer. He's going to lose the time frame.
No,
I mean, he's gone back pretty far.
So maybe,
No, I mean, like,
maybe
more
that'll
recent,
happen
yeah.
next week.
Maybe, I hope so, because Bran wasn't in this episode at all.
No.
Theon wasn't in this episode at all. We had
We
nothing.
didn't see him last week.
Yeah.
I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
We haven't seen Euron
I
in
was
like
just
4
gonna-
weeks.
Yeah, we haven't seen Euron in 4 weeks.
Euron's
We didn't
out
go to-
looking for
I
more
wish we
prices.
could
Yes.
just go there now, so we don't have to go back there. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's way too exciting.
I know now.
Yeah,
Now it's
well,
like,
now Cersei is the subplot after the end.
oh yeah, she's like a footnote. She's
Yeah.
like not even important. And yeah, like the whole conflict for the throne is like, who cares? the whole central premise of this entire show for the past 7 years is like, nobody cares about this. But it's true. Like, it's not. It doesn't seem to be important in light of what we now know. But yeah, so no King's Landing this episode. No, we have no idea what's going on with the Ironborn.
No Sam.
No Sam. And so we don't know what's going on with Yara Greyjoy either. So I think next episode we're going to see a lot of either things being tied up or, you know, trying to set us up for the next season.
I just don't even care.
And I don't even care about. I mean, I feel like that too. And I honestly think that we're probably like, this might be it for White Walkers this year. Like, we might not see them again next episode unless the end of season cliffhanger is. I mean.
They could have finished the season with this episode.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That's pretty
Blue.
typical.
Yeah.
Most years, the next to last episode is like
Something-
often like what are they going to do next week?
Yeah, and so,
dragon fight.
Yeah, gosh, I
I
can't.
knew it was going to happen. I said it last week. I said
It's-
White Walker dragon.
Is he gonna
It's
breathe
too
ice
exciting.
or fire?
Okay, so here we are going to plug that everybody should go out and, or not go out, but come here and check out The Ice Dragon by George R.R. Martin, because it's going to give you a frame of reference for Viserion and what he's becoming, because even though it's not set in the world of Westeros, it is the part of the framework for which the world of Westeros was built on, and obviously it is about an ice dragon. In this book, the dragon does breathe ice. I don't know if that'll be in the show, but it's just, we have like 7 of them. They're only 60 pages long, and it's like a good little frame of reference.
It would make, so I know, so the book canon is, that they breathe ice. And it actually makes sense, because if they're breathing fire, they would be much too much
Melting
danger
their-
of killing.
They kill their own
Right.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's go back a little bit and go to so they end up finding the little band of scouts going through the pass, and we learned something very valuable in that fight, which
Yes.
is if you kill the White Walker, the whites will fall.
Yeah.
Right.
But it has to be the one who raised them.
Right.
Very important, because I think that says to us, you have to kill the Night King.
Yeah,
You have to kill the Night
King.
King if you're going to be successful in this battle. We skipped over one of the best scenes of the entire episode, which was the undead polar bear, which was very interesting, because it taught us that these undead animals, when they raise them, they're ferocious, and they are, they're just going to try to kill you, and they're completely under the control of the white. Undead animals are even more dangerous than the undead humans.
Which animals are more dangerous than humans in real life.
Right,
They're
so-
being attacked by a bear versus a man.
Yeah, but it gives you a kind of a frame of reference to what we can expect going forward. And so we have them stumble upon this little party, and one of we had that very Fellowship of the Rings moment, which I think has to be a direct in honor scene in honor of the Fellowship of the Ring. And then we have Gendry, who I guess, go, you're the fastest.
And we got there in 10 minutes.
And he leaves behind the Warhammer. So I don't know what you guys are thinking at that moment, but I thought, well, Gendry's going to die. Here he is running by himself. There's an army of whites out there, and this could be a trap, and Gendry's going to get caught. And then it didn't end up being what happened, but that was absolutely what I thought was going to happen. I thought there was going to be. And then can you imagine how his lungs felt at the end of that? That run?
In the cold.
Oh, yeah, terrible. So, and Gendry did make it in time and sent the world's fastest raven.
And then I go, no, she can't be here in the nick of time. She just can't. Takes them how long to travel?
It's a dragon,
And-
though.
I knew
Well,
there was
why
no other way they were getting out of that.
Why
There was
doesn't
no
she
other way.
just express people
No.
back and forth anyways? Why are we...
Well, and
Dragon Express.
I mean, it's a good way to make an extra gold or two, right? Just
Right.
like have to use the dragons as fairies. But yeah, so then they end up getting stranded on that frozen lake, which in itself was kind of an interesting scene, because in my mind I was like, they're already dead. Why don't they just walk across the bottom of the pond and take out the guys? But as Liz pointed out to me this morning in the episode Hardhome, when they were escaping through the water, the whites did not walk into the water in that episode either. So there might be something. Of course, I said at the end, well, they had to dive down into the water to get the dragon.
They had those handy chains.
Or maybe they were just sacrificed, the ones who attached the chains to the dragon. They were just, okay, you're serving this purpose.
Yeah,
They're
but there did
controlled
seem
by
to
the
be,
White Walker.
in Hardhome in this episode, there definitely did seem to be something about they weren't.
Yeah.
Reluctance to water.
Well, and as we were talking earlier, in the books, there are entire chapters and prologues and epilogues devoted to the idea of warging, being able to have the ability to put part of yourself into an animal. So all the Stark children were supposed as children were supposedly wargs, and they could put part of themselves into their roles, which I think you see happen with Bran with Summer. He would have the ghost, the dreams where he would be the wolf, or even Jon and Ghost seem to have a telepathic connection. Dany and Drogon definitely seem to have a telepathic connection. She's very much able to control him when she's riding him. He knows what she wants, where to blow the fire. Exactly. And maybe the other two dragons are more vulnerable because they don't have that connection with a human. We wonder if things would have gone a little bit differently had those two dragons had riders.
Where did Rhaegon go?
Rhaegal.
Oh, wait,
where did he go?
So this is my theory. My theory for Rhaegal. I have a couple theories. Rhaegal saw what happened to Viserion and was like, "Yeah, I'm going back to Dragonstone. Forget this."
Or him fly away.
They shot him fly away.
I was expecting them to come back for Jon though, and then they're playing the dragon.
Yeah, that's what I would have enjoyed that. I think more than just seeing Uncle Benjen overrode by. But I think a lot of people, like when I was looking on Twitter and stuff, people did expect that. They thought like, why doesn't Rhaegal come back and get Jon? And but
that
Jon and Rhaegal
more powerful.
It would have been more powerful, but we also haven't seen Jon and Rhaegal make any kind of connection. So if in the previous episode Jon had pet Rhaegal, that would have been really that would have made it really make sense. But if it had happened in this episode, it would have felt like it was coming out of the blue. It would, not that was a problem, because that happened with a lot of things in this episode. For example, Jon at the end, when Drogon's there, and he's, for some reason, fighting off whites that are like 10 feet away and not in danger of, why aren't you just hopping on the dragon?
Every time he tried, they would have been right on his back.
But then, Drogon could have just shook him off. He would have just taken off and the whites would have fallen to their death. I mean, it didn't make any sense, and it was a contrived way to kind of get...
It looked to me like he was inundated with people.
I've seen this scene 3 times now, and I'm telling you, he's not. The whites are far away from the dragon. He's far away from them, and he at one point, right after Viserion dies, Jon actually has a clear shot right to the Night King. He could have got. I mean, there were no whites in front of him. It was just him standing here and the Night King like at the end of that table. And
I thought he was going to go charging.
I thought he was too, and I think that he did.
But then he saw the spear coming, and he was like, "No."
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Right. So
go now.
All right, we should talk about this.
We lost our connection.
Oh,
let's try to get this back.